speech about optimism. How would you react if I said that you are wearing a backpack right now? Okay, you'd probably look at me crazy and call it bluff. Except I'm not talking about a literal backpack, but rather the mental one we all carry. Inside of this backpack are all of our thoughts and emotions, each with its own weight. Happiness is light and hardly weighs anything, while sadness can feel incredibly heavy and drag you down. Optimism, on the other hand, is a colorful patch used to fix the rips caused by all the weight the backpack has to bear. Within recent years, I've noticed an increasingly pessimistic view that has been plaguing our world. So, my goal today is, instead of traveling the world and sharing optimism with the 8 billion people who inhabit our planet, I'll stand up here and share it with all of you. So first, let's take off our backpacks and unpack what optimism is and how it can be beneficial. Then discuss why it's so hard to be optimistic today, before finally putting our backpacks back on and learning to think positively even when everything is telling you not to. Seeing the glass half full, however, starts with fully understanding optimism. The online platform Very Well Mind defines optimism as a mental attitude characterized by hope and confidence in success and a positive future. Optimists are the polar opposites of pessimists, who tend to see the worst aspects of things. So some signs of optimism include feeling grateful for things in your life, thinking you can learn from tough situations, and trusting yourself to handle challenges. You might be asking right now, well, what's the point of being optimistic? And I would answer, by being optimistic, you actually experience real health benefits. The Mayo Clinic explains how positive thinking can lead to things like an increased lifespan, a greater resistance to illness, and a better psychological and physical well-being. The clinic highlights how stress burdens your body, and that optimism reduces this stress. Harvard Medical School highlights a study that further supports these claims. Subjects within the study were given psychological tests to determine if they were more pessimistic or optimistic. These subjects were then evaluated over a 6-month period for overall health. After the study concluded, researchers found that those who were categorized as pessimists were 3 times more likely to have a heart attack than those who are not. So, pessimism can quite literally drag you down. Being optimistic, however, is very rare these days. The article America's Biggest Issues reminds us of our dying environment, poor education system, the overly expensive healthcare, and the overall economy. But those are just the general things. On top of all this, we get slammed with endless news articles about recent deaths, newly installed bills, or some other reason our country is crumbling. It's no wonder why 63% of Americans would consider themselves pessimistic concerning the moral and ethical standards of our country, as said by the Pew Research Center. So, I'm sure you've all heard of the war happening between Israel and Palestine. And if you haven't, let me say this. It's a tragedy. People die every day in Palestine, either by bomb strike, starvation, dehydration, and so much more. People with friends or families in these countries fear every day that their loved ones might die. And this is only one huge issue that affects us and our ability to stay positive. In our own nation, interracial and gay marriage has been or is being threatened. Interracial marriage legalized in 1967, and gay marriage only 10 years ago in 2015. Instead of progressing, our country is taking steps back. So now, people are forced to fear for their relationships and face the possibility of not being able to marry their partner, just because of race or gender identity. And this isn't even half of the detrimental issues that we continue to face. But it's problems like these that leave us feeling angry, disappointed, fearful, and overall negative. This negativity leads to pessimism, which is like a tear in our backpack that we refuse to fix, and it continues to let all hope and happiness fall out. Even I, the one preaching the benefits about optimism, have had this tear in my bag too. So, being optimistic is hard, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. We can learn to lighten our loads. The journalist Anthony J. Young advises us on how to be optimistic by first describing how he used to think of optimism backwards, as the effect rather than the cause. He thought optimism came after the good thing happened. This proved to be wrong and actually made his troubles worse. He reminds us that optimism is a practice and a habit, not something you magically obtain. He says, and I quote, "By constantly practicing optimism, you can actually bring more luck your way." Young also advises us how to think more positive. The key is to start right now, regardless of however bad you think your life is. Young reminds us that he does not expect everything to go perfectly. He instead maintains the expectation that things will go well. He doesn't think that everything will go his way or that everything will play out perfectly. He says that's unrealistic. So instead, he keeps the mindset that things will be just fine and that he doesn't have to worry. Finally, he says not to be optimistic for a few days and let every negative event as proof it doesn't work. It takes time to build your optimism muscles, especially if you've been pessimistic for a long time. And if you were looking for my personal advice, I'd say start being optimistic for others, like saying, "You've got this," or "Today it'll be a great day." And it will spread the positivity, because just one mind can change 1,000. So, this has certainly been an adventure, a very fun and I hope informational one. Before I let you go, let's take off our backpacks just one more time to remember what we've gone over today. We've unpacked what optimism is and its benefits, then why it's so hard to be optimistic today, and finally, how to prepare our backpack with our optimism patches. But as much as I love optimism, I think it's important to remind you of something. Not everything will always go your way, but that shouldn't mean living your life in the dark. Of course, I'm not expecting you to stay optimistic all the time, but I do believe that anyone, especially you, can at least try to be more positive, even when it's hard. And while you're at it, encourage those around you, like saying something that'll make them smile, or just by setting a good example. It doesn't have to be life-changing or innovative. It just has to be, because a singular good thought can make a huge difference. So, let's lighten the load, because I'm optimistic that brighter days aren't just ahead, but that we're already walking towards them.